this video, we'll be showing you how to insert and manipulate text. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you can see all of your text options. There is a drop-down box that shows you all the fonts that are available for use. Any TrueType font that you have installed in Windows is available to you in this program. To create text, click on the text button in the vertical toolbar. Then click anywhere in the marking field to insert default text. Before we continue, I wanted to point out this font type drop-down box. When you're trying to create text, make sure this is set to TrueType font. Also note that if this is set to anything else, if someone uses it to create a barcode, for example, the next time you try to create text, it's going to default to barcode. So if you're trying to create text and you get a barcode or something else that's strange, you probably just need to change the font type to TrueType font. Now there are actually more text options than we can currently see. So let's drag the text option window up so we can see the rest of our options. And this reveals the text box. The text box is where we will enter text. So let's delete the default text and enter something else. We'll do GT SCHMIDT. You'll notice that even though we changed the text in the text box, the data showing in the workspace is still the same. That's because we need to click Apply for the changes to take effect. And this is true not just for entering text in the text box, but for any of these options here. If you want the changes to take effect, you need to click Apply. This text box does not limit you to just one line of text. If you press Enter, you can create a second or a third line of text, as many as you want. So let's add a second line here, and we'll add make a lasting mark. Now we click Apply, and we can see that it was changed in the workspace. And let's click and drag the text to center it. Before we continue, let's take another look at this font drop-down box. You can see that as we hover over different fonts, we get a preview of the text we created in that font. So it's a nice feature to have when you're not exactly sure which font you want to use for your mark. If we click on the font button, it will open up the font window, which gives us many different options for manipulating the text that we created. Most of these font options are self-explanatory. Make sure that you click Apply to make these changes take effect. You can bold the text, or you can italicize it. You can change the width of the characters, as well as the angle, so you can make the characters slant in different directions. You can change the spacing between characters, as well as the spacing between lines if you have multiple lines. You can left justify, center, or right justify your text, and you can also choose your text's orientation, horizontal or vertical. At the bottom you can see this section for curved text. We will review this in another video. Let's close this window now and go back to the different text options. If you look above the text box, you can see this height option here, and it measures height in millimeters. Now, this doesn't actually measure the characters, but the character plus the space below it. So, for example, this is set at 20 millimeters. That means from the top of the G to the top of the M underneath it is 20 millimeters. Now, let's look at the top of the text options where we have the two different size boxes. There's one for the X and one for the Y. Now the Y size here is just over 37 millimeters. That is the height of the mark that we are going to make. So again, the difference between height and Y size is that the height measures the size of the character plus the space below it. The Y size measures the height of the mark. So if you need to be very specific about the height of your characters, I would recommend not creating paragraph lines. If you need several lines of text, create several text objects, one text object for each line. Then, in millimeters, enter the height of the character that you need and the Y size. That will guarantee that the characters that you're marking are the exact height that you want them to be. Lastly, next to the Y size is the lock button. This lock button locks and unlocks your text's aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is the height of your text relative to its width. When the lock button is on, any changes that you make to the height of your text will proportionally change the width of your text. The opposite is true as well. Any changes that you make to the width of your text will proportionally change the height of your text. However, when the lock button is off, you can change the height or the width of your text independently of one another. That will do it for this video. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments section below. And make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future instructional videos or laser marking tips.